Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Lou Mosca, and the company I represent is called American Management. And about 5-6 months ago, we started chatting with Steve and Tom about coming out here and doing a little presentation for you folks. And in fact, we met the folks at Dupont through one of the distributors that's in this room right now. That's Spoveri, and it's Russ and his colleagues. So we just want to take you through some areas that we think, how we see businesses being run to maximize profit and cash flow. And I will tell you all the time that I don't like to lecture to anyone. So if anyone wants to talk about anything or want to question anything, please feel free to do so. So first thing I want to ask you is, that was a great story this morning. That was a great story, the dog and the rabbit. And was that stuff real, or did you just find those pictures online? That's the real thing. Wow, that's crazy stuff. Okay. So, you know, as an outsider, you know, I'm not a fabricator, I'm not a distributor, I don't work for Dupont, I don't get paid by Dupont. As an outsider, watching what I saw this morning and the benefits that corporate wants to bring to the table, the first thing I would share with you folks is that, you know, we work with hundreds of business owners around the country every week, every month, every year. And it's very rare that the big dog, someone like Dupont, wants to step up and try and help their colleagues. You are their colleagues in some way, shape, or form. And in a different life, I owned a hair care company where we were buying about $2.5 million a year from one manufacturer, and he said to me, I don't care what you buy, as long as you buy what I tell you to, I don't care if you throw it in the Hudson River. Okay, so I just realized that that's not a partnership, that's just someone trying to push us to buy more, and it's not the way to do business. These folks want to step up and help the distributors and the fabricators, and you need to take advantage of that. You need to scream and fight and scratch and claw so you get what you need to be as successful as possible. But success is not just defined as the top line, okay? So in our world, we're going to take you through what we think and how a business could or should be managed to maximize profit. Because as, I don't know if Tom's here, Tom Kern said before, you know, it's not about just growth, it's about profitable growth. And a lot of people had to compromise their margins over the last 5 or 6 years when the economy fell apart. And now trying to put those pieces back together is not so easy. Okay, so that's sort of what we're going to talk about a little bit today. Everything we do is in confidence, so any conversations, if you folks want to talk to Doug or myself sometime today, we don't share anything with anybody, just so you know. What is an advantage fabricator, by the way? Start with that. What's the definition of an advantage fabricator? Dollar figure achievement of you buying? Okay. So that makes you sort of elite. Well, it does, right? It does. Because, you know, you can probably choose a cheaper product or an inferior product or a foreign product. You could probably do other things, and you choose to dance with this card that you have. And that's a good thing. But you're also entitled. Because you're the elite group, you're entitled. And you're entitled to help and benefits and greater success because you've got more risk. You're entitled to greater success. So, how many in here started the business? Okay, from scratch. Nothing. Not your dad, not your second, third generation. You started from scratch, right? So, do you remember what it was like when you started the business? And that first day, that second day, you hire your first employee, you get your first bank loan, you make your first sales call, whatever it is to do that. And I think sometimes as business has grown, as your business has grown, you know, business owners have the tendency to sort of lose touch a little bit with their grassroots. And the grassroots is how you got started and how you got to where you are. So we're going to challenge you on a couple of things today. First thing is we want to tell you that we know you're a success. And we respect that you're successful business owners, and that's why you were invited to come here today. And DuPont respects you, and we have great respect for you. So we want to talk to you and not at you, okay? So if there's any question, please belt it out. We were asked to put this presentation together, and we sort of made up the name, The Business of Managing the Business. It's not anything fantastic. It's just a bunch of issues that we think can make life a little bit better. Tom talked before about Lombardi, Vince Lombardi. And if you ever come to my office in Orlando, and Steve was there one time, I've got Lombardi posters up and Lombardi books up. And the reason I do that is because, first of all, I grew up in New York in an Italian family, so Lombardi was like an idol. And second of all, he had a pretty great career. And third of all is I want excellence in my life for my family and the people that I work with. And I don't know of anyone that's achieved or wanted excellence more than Vince Lombardi. But one of my favorite movie lines in the last couple of years was from the movie Moneyball. Anybody see Moneyball? Brad Pitt? Who did he play? What was his character? Billy Bean, right? And at one point, there's a couple of guys working out in the workout room, and he's talking to them, and he says to them, I hate losing more than I want to win. Okay? Well, I hate losing. And losing to me in business is not maximizing sales, not maximizing profit, and not maximizing cash flow. Because everything else outside of business is either personal or sport. But in business, it's maximizing sales, profit, and cash flow for the benefit of owners. That's sort of how we look at things, and that's what you're going to hear about today. Okay? Last thing, I'll show you one last thing, then I'm going to give you a little quiz. We work with a lot of companies all over the country, from California to Connecticut, and a lot of contractors. And a lot of contractors are telling us their business is up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. It's not consistent. How you guys doing? Is business consistent? Is it fluctuating? Is it different than ever? What you think?
It's always on a wave.
It's always on a wave. Okay? Same thing? Yeah? You agree with that? Anybody over here? Consistently inconsistent? Yeah. Something like that? Okay. Where it's kind of tough to predict what next month or the month after is going to look like? Okay. So I ask you those things because the first thing you got to realize is you're all very similar in that regard. Okay? So you're not on an island unto yourself. And sometimes the best advice you can get and best help you can get is from people that live in your world. Okay? So we were talking on the breakout session this morning. We had a contractor that we did work with in 2009 in Orlando that did $76 million in 2009. And in 2006, he did $400 million. And in 2013, he did $50 million. And this year, he's on a run rate to do $35 million. Okay? So there's nothing easy in your world, okay? So whatever the economists are saying or whatever Washington is saying, your world and reality don't always match up. Okay? So your world is reality to us. Okay? So guys, this is a little quiz. You do not have to give it back to us. I just wanted you each to take a look at this. Pass that back there, please. Doug, why don't you go to that if you don't mind? Okay. You know, it's interesting. The Dupont folks put a screen up there today about a triangle, a win-win for everybody. And in our world, we're always trying to make sure that our staff wins and our client wins before we win. Well, the Dupont world, which I've been hearing about since we started talking with Steve back in November and December, was about how to make everybody in the equation win. Dupont probably last. The fabricator and the distributor and the customer, the end user first. Those two have to win. And that's sort of what we tried to focus on today. But for our focus, it's also about how do we make your life better. So what's the next screen, Doug? By the way, folks, I've been doing this for 16 years. I'm 58. I'm from New York. I'm a CPA. I haven't practiced accounting in a long time. I've owned a bunch of my own businesses. Some I did really well. Some I did really not well. I've been doing this for almost 16 years. Doug McDermott's been with American Management for 24 years. We've been in business 27 years, and the only thing we do is work with privately held businesses around the country all day long. So we understand the fights you have. It's all we deal with. We understand what it's like to have to cover payroll. We get it. So we put together a little sanity check, and we do this with every group that we meet with, and we've met with hundreds of groups over the last 5, 10 years. And I don't want you to give me the answers. I want you to keep this for yourself. And the reason we do this is because, you know, if you really want to do better, the first thing in life is, in our world, is to look in the mirror. It's got to be to look in the mirror. So first thing is, how many years has your organization been in business? It's an easy question. You know the answer. How long have you been leading that organization? You're the guy. You make the decisions. The buck stops here. When you go to the bank, it's your signature. Can't be anything more personal than your signature at the bank, right? So how many years have you been the leader? Is your personal net worth where it should be? Only you know that. And I will tell you, when I was 38, what I thought my net worth should be versus where I'm at 58, makes me think a lot harder every day. A lot harder every day. So as you build your business or you work in your business, what's the end result that you're looking for? What are you trying to accomplish? It's not just a job. If you wanted a job, you could go get a job. Okay? So is your personal net worth where it should be? Financially, do you want more? Guys, ladies, Warren Buffett shows up for work every day. The guy's worth a few dollars. You know why he shows up for work every day? Because he wants more, right? He doesn't want the castle. He wants the country that the castle's in. Okay? Well, you're entrepreneurs. You're in business for a reason. What's that reason? It's usually to build wealth and have the quality of life that you want for you and your family. So financially, do you want more? Are you using your line of credit? How often are you using the line of credit? When's the last time you've been out of your line of credit for 2 or 3 months and not used it? How often do you use it? You realize the line of credit is whose money? The bank's. It's not your money, right? If you have to use your line of credit and you can't zero it out for 1, 2, or 3 months, you have a problem. You have a problem. Are you working harder for less? Meaning, are you carrying more burden on your shoulders than you did in the past for not a big enough reward? Right? This is your business. You should be getting the rewards of your business. Are your margins shrinking? Are you satisfied with employee productivity? We said it this morning. We have a client. I had a client a week or two ago in Chicago. Does $40-some-odd million, and on an 8-hour day, their employees admitted they're productive 5 hours. Ownership was okay with that. My head hurt. My head hurt. I'm not going to pay someone 8 hours for a 5-hour day. So are you getting the productivity out of your staff that you need, that you require to be the success you want to be? Can you walk away from your business for a month with confidence? Not go on vacation for a week, for a month. Can you leave for a month with confidence? Not have to worry. Sales department's going to work, pricing's going to work, estimating's going to work, purchasing, production, everything's going to work. You don't have to be that glue in the middle. And do you have a rock-solid succession plan? Succession plan. Do you know where you want to take this company when you're ready? And you shouldn't start planning that at 62. You hurt yourself. Okay? Questions, comments? Okay. We printed these for you. You take them, you do what you want with them. But to us, it's the first step in looking in a mirror to see if there's anything that you might want to do different for your life. For your life. Doug? So we broke this down into several components. And these are our philosophies after being in business for 27 years and doing this for 27 years with 7,000 or 8,000 business owners on the things we think are important for a business owner to maximize the return for him or herself. Okay? First step is a business plan. Most privately held businesses do not have one. Dupont has one. Probably has one by division, right? But they got all the resources in the world. So I'm not suggesting you create a DuPont business plan. I'm suggesting you create an Adams Group business plan or whatever you are, whoever you are. And it doesn't have to be the most complicated document in the world. But if you don't know where you want to go in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, how does your staff know what they need to do? How does your staff know? If you don't have direction and a game plan that your key people don't know and don't embrace, how are you going to measure your results? Just the P&L? I pick on you by mistake? No. Okay. Okay. So, but I will. I will. It's okay. So to me, a lot of owners will sit here and tell us, we have a plan. We talk to our people all the time. And I say that's conversation. It's not a plan. Plan is something that you document. You write down, and I suggested to someone this morning, he said to me, how do you do that? And I said, you go backwards. Where do you want to be in 3 years? And where do you want to be in 2 years? And where do you want to be in 1 year? Where do you want to be in 6 months and in 3 months? And you work it backwards. Do you have the resources? Do you have the staff? Do you have the market share? Do you have the pricing? Do you have the product? Do you have everything you need to be what you want to be? Because ultimately, there's going to come a day where you're going to say, I'm tired and I want out. I'm going to give it a little Johnny, or I'm going to sell it to my employees, or I'm going to sell it to a third party. And the way to maximize return on your business, guys, is to show good results year after year against a plan. Against a plan, so they can see that you have the organization in place, that you can get what you're entitled to if and when you choose to sell. Take some effort. You can use an eraser and change it from time to time. And I'm sure most folks don't have one, but you should. You should. Doug? Okay. I'm going to preface everything with you don't have to agree with a thing we say to you. But in our world, there are 3 key assets in every business. The first is your staff, your people. You hire them, you train them, you keep them, you pay them for a reason. Hope that reason is to some degree because, number one, they're loyal to you, to some degree. And number 2 is they do good work. They're productive. They deserve to work there, hopefully. So good people is key number 1. Key number 2 is a customer base. If you don't have a customer base and you don't have key people, you might as well go home. But a customer base. And as an owner, you need to make sure you are intimate with your customers, your top customers. You know that 80-20 rule? Those 20%, you should own them, not a sales rep. You guys should own them. Because when you started your business, you owned every one of them. Now that you've been in business for 20 years and you got 5 salespeople running around, you might not own them as much as you think. You need to make sure they're in your pocket, not somebody else's. So your keys are your staff and your customer base. And then finally, it's your liquidity. It's cash. Because if you have a strong balance sheet and you're liquid and you have cash, you can get through anything. Anything. So let's think about this segue. We started with a business plan, right? And that business plan sort of tells us where we want to be when we grow up, what kind of company we want to be, where we want to get to in the next 2-3 years. Next step is liquidity and our keys. How are we going to get there? These are the keys to getting there. Our people, our customers, and our liquidity. But when it comes to liquidity, it's cash. It's fighting for discounts. It's trying not to use that line of credit unless it makes perfect sense. And if you don't know when you can pay that line of credit back, you better say to yourself you have a problem. So if you have $100,000 cash in the bank and you're using $300,000 of your line of credit, how much cash do you really have? Negative 200. You'd be surprised how many owners don't think that way. The same contractor I was talking about a little while ago has several $1 million cash on their balance sheet and several $1 million more in customer deposits. So they've got about $4 million in cash and about $7 million in customer deposits. Whose money is that? No, it's not theirs. It's the customers. They owe those customers $7 million. My question is, where's the other 3? Okay? So cash is king. How you run your business, always cash, always cash. You need to be looking out the next 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. What are my needs? What are my resources? Where's it coming from? And if you have to use your line of credit, and I'm not against using a line of credit, how am I paying it back and when? It's not your money. Okay? It's not your money. Question? Doug? Okay. So we went from a business plan to cash. Okay? Now we're going to go to profit. We go to cash before we go to profit, okay? Because to us, the true measure of profitability is cash. It's not some accrued number on the bottom of an income statement. It's not in your checkbook. You can't use it. Right? How many clients we've had that their accountants have said to them, you had a really good year, and they don't have a lot of money. So it's not necessarily they don't go hand in hand. Now, you need good profit to have good cash flow. Okay? So the first statement is correct, guys. You'd be surprised how many $3 million businesses that are now $7 million made more money at $3 million. They took on more work, they expanded, they added more salespeople, they bought market share, they didn't want to lose business to the competition, and at $3 million they made 8%, at $7 million they make 3%. Talk about working harder for nothing. Working harder for nothing. And you will be amazed how often we see that. So do your own reflection. Where were you 5 or 10 years ago? Forget 08, 09, 10, and 11. Forget them. Throw them away. Where were you 7, 8, 9 years ago? How are you doing? You're all in the same bucket, right? So how are you doing? Real profit, real profit is money you know that's going to be in your checkbook or it is in your checkbook. Not that you just keep building receivables and you keep building inventory, right? Who's that benefit? Who does that benefit? Real profit is in your checkbook. So profit is a 4-letter word. It's good. Don't be afraid to discuss it with your key people. And when you are planning with your staff, it should be profit. In fact, this morning we were chatting. One of the things we asked the group this morning is, how many of you do a budget? All right, very few. No problem. It's okay. Very few do budgets. Okay? We sort of don't necessarily, we agree with the budgeting process, but we think it should be more of a profit planning process, not a budgeting process. And I'll give you an example, and this is an example. So let's say you believe with all the things your distributor can help you with, and you know what's going on in your market, and you know what the construction climate is in your market, and you know what Dupont can do, and blah, blah, blah. You know what your people are capable of. You think you're going to do $10 million in 2014. You're all active owners, I presume. So you probably have a functional role in your business. Maybe one of you is the sales manager, the ops manager, I don't care, but you all have an active role in your business. You get a paycheck for that. You get paid every week, every 2 weeks, you get a paycheck for that. That's not your ownership return. That's a paycheck. Because if you didn't do it, you'd have to hire someone else to do it. And you'd have to pay that person something. So in our world, the way we think you should budget, because right now when the folks that do budget, I bet you do sales up top, you throw some costs against it, best of your estimate that you can, and whatever the bottom line number is, that's the bottom line number. We suggest you do it like this. You think your revenue is going to be $10 million? You think you should get a 5% return as the owner? $500,000? Take it right out. You don't have that money. Now we've got to figure out our variable and fixed costs to run the business on $9.5 million. And every month as revenue goes up and down, we adjust our affairs because ownership is entitled to their return. A budget says whatever's left over is what's left over. We're saying manage to what's left over. Create what you want it to be. Business plan, so everybody's on the same page. Protect our assets, right? Our staff, our customer base, and our liquidity, and then create a plan for profit that all of our key people know and we hold them accountable to because it's part of our business plan. Because if you want great success, it takes great effort. If you want average success, you know the rest. Question, comment? They ate too much for lunch. This is a quiet group, man. That's okay. Go ahead, Doug. Okay. So now we're at incentives. So the way we look at this is that if you have put together a business plan, you safeguard your assets, you've got a profit plan. The next step is incentives for your staff. For you, for your key people. And I'm sure some of you probably do that already. A young man came up to me this morning and said, we do something, we do this every quarter, and when they don't get it, they get really upset, and, well, you want them to get really upset, right? So in our world, if you have a production supervisor and you're paying him $45,000 a year, and you have a good year, at the end of the year, you throw him a check for $2,500 or $5,000, subjectively. I don't think you should throw anybody anything subjectively. And employees are short-minded, they're narrow-minded. You can tell them what their reward will be for the year. They're not worried about what they're getting from you next January and February. They're worried about their mortgage payment next month. So in our world, we try to make these incentives quarterly. And we try to share them with our key people and the people that really matter. And what we say, and here's just a little example, is that if our profit goal for the quarter is $50,000, then anything above $50,000 we're going to share. The $50,000 belongs to ownership as his or her return for their risk. I'm not sharing that. That's what you got paid for. But above the $50,000, what we suggest is something to the key managers, something stays with ownership, and something gets reinvested back into business to grow more. And any quarter that you can't have success for whatever reason, you want to be sharing that information all along the while so you don't get to the end of the quarter and they're like, oh, damn, you're not paying me. They should know it as the quarter's going on. You want them invested. But they will be if you have a business plan and a cash flow model and a profit plan and an incentive plan that everybody's on the same page with. No one can say, hey, what happened? Why didn't I get my check? Can't happen. set a bar and reward for excess achievement. The bar should be your minimum number you want. So in this example, the minimum number we want is $500,000 a year as ownership's return. I'm not sharing any of that $500,000. That's what I pay people for. I'll share above the $500,000 in whatever percentage or however you think is appropriate. But you just don't put in an incentive plan if you don't have a plan for profit and a business plan that everyone's on the same page with. Because you don't want to be writing checks by mistake on a quarterly basis. Question. How many people do incentive plans? Work, not work? Sometimes. You know, it's always different with everybody. And it's tough to do by department for the company. It's really tough to hold everybody accountable for what other departments do. But I will tell you, we've had really significant success in helping people really push their business forward when everyone was invested. That $45,000 a year employee that knows he's not getting any more merit increases, that wants to make $65,000, $70,000 a year, it's right in front of you. Just help me go get it. And don't waver on it if you do it.
So are you suggesting that overall company deal is better than departmental?
No, I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's a little bit of both because, you know, if the purchasing agent does everything they're supposed to do and brings in your raw materials for a half a point less than what you know is standard, that half a point just picked you up X. But if the company didn't perform according to plan because the sales department didn't bring in the revenue, then I'm going to penalize the purchasing agent because we didn't have the top line. So there's got to be a little bit of a donut for everybody and then something for the group. But once again, it's a business plan, the profit plan, the cash management, and then the incentive plan. Because we don't want to give away something that's not practical for us to be rewarding people by. Okay, last step in our scenario, and this is all about protecting ownership. How many of you are actual owners? Okay, all right. How many of you have children that you hope will take over after you? Okay. And have they worked just for you, or have you kicked them out of the house and made them work somewhere else? They've worked somewhere else? Okay. Well, I think just to share with you, just be careful that when you want to bring that next generation along, the employees need to feel that little Johnny earned that right. It's not just genetic. And you got to be careful on how you handle that because there will be, you can have a significant backlash. Someone that's been loyal to you for 25 years, now he's going to be taking direction from someone that's younger than him just because he's got your last name, he or she's got your last name. You create a really difficult environment for yourself. And you got to be careful of that. We sort of suggest that anyone that's got a child that they want to bring in the business, make them go work somewhere else for 2, 3, 4 years. And then when they come to you, let them work in purchasing and let them work in production. And let them go out and make sales calls and put them in the accounting office for 6 months. Let them really have an internship for 2, 3, 4 years. And then the best person to teach your children is not you. It's usually not you. Okay? So you want your son or daughter to get the best business MBA they can get. Well, it can't be better than someone working with them at your facility teaching them. So you see what they're being taught, but it's not you. It's too difficult. Then you got to go home and explain to your significant others. It's too difficult. Okay? So succession planning, to us it's the natural evolution of where the business could or should be. You all went in business for whatever reason you chose. Whether you went into the business because your dad or your granddad started it 20, 30 years ago, or because you decided to do this for whatever reason, or you chose to change careers and this is what you wanted to do. Okay? But there's an evolution to every business that says something's going to happen down the road to some degree. You're going to sell it. Someone's going to offer you money for it. You're going to create an ESOP. You're going to want to do something with your employees, a third party, give it to your children, sell it to your children, whatever it is. And I'm suggesting to you that if you create a strong organization that works against a business plan that they all understand, that will help you maximize your value. If you have a profit plan that you execute against year after year, and you're not going to hit it all the time, It's not going to happen. But you create a profit plan to go with the business plan. You are creating a strong organization with documentation and procedures and controls that a potential buyer can say, hey, this place, they know what they're doing. I don't have to be here all the time to run this. You know what that creates for you? More value. Okay? So there isn't one of you that hasn't thought about cashing out at some point in time, no matter what your age is, because it is a human emotion and is a natural evolution of a business. So if you're going to give it to little Johnny, you need to make sure you protect your finances and the well-being of that company. Because the last thing you want to do is drive by that business 3 years from now and it's boarded up. Because little Johnny didn't grow up the way you grew up. So let's think about this. Let's reverse again, okay? You have a business plan that says who we want to be, where we want to be, and what we want to get to in a period of time. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever that is, okay? And don't think you're too small to do that. Because if you're thinking that way, then you're going to stay too small to do that, okay? The second step is value your resources. Your people, your customers, get out there and meet them. Shake their hand. Make sure they know you love them. How many times did Tom thank you today and Steve thank you today from the podium? Whether you think they're shallow words or not, they appreciate your business. Your customers need to know you love them and you need them. Those top 20% that represent 60, 70, 80% of your business, dude, next week I'd be in the car going to shake all of their hands. Thank them. What else can we do together? Protect your cash. Protect your cash. If you're using your line of credit, go back to your office. Whenever you're going back, sit down with whoever your bookkeeper or accountant is and say, when's the last time we didn't owe money on that? If the bank called me tomorrow and says we got to pay that back, how are we going to do that? How are we going to do that? Not your money. Demand loan, not your money. Right, next. Profit plan, not a budget. Profit plan / budget. Right, so all things are tied together. And incentive plans, and a succession plan. And whether you're 45 or 62, it's not too late to start working on where you want to be. Because if you really want to be there, it is a job. It is as difficult as doing what you do. But you're in this for greatness, and if you're in it, I think, if you're in it for greatness, then you got to act like you're in it for greatness. And it's a fight. It's a fight. Agree, disagree, craziness, all of the above? It's okay. We got one last slide, and that's it, guys. Go ahead, Doug. Okay, so in your package, in your Dupont package you were each handed last night, Steve and staff took the time to take one of our books and stick it in there for you. And it's a book called Profits Aren't Everything, They're the Only Thing. And that book was written by the owner of my company with Doug's help and my help and a few other people. If you ever get a chance to read through it, you're going to find a couple of things. Number one, there's some harsh words in there. There's some harsh words in there. And it's meant to make you realize business is business and it's tough. And if you get one thing out of it, it's worthwhile. Okay? Second reason it was written the way it was written is because we wanted to get New York Times bestseller status. And we did that on the second week that it was published. So it accomplished what we wanted. These are the chapters in the book. And I'll go over them for 2 seconds. First one is self-explanatory. Profits aren't everything, they're the only thing. Guys, if a dollar comes through your door and there's not a commensurate amount of profit to go along with that dollar, what are we doing? Now it could be 2% on some dollars and 9% on others based on a strategy that you have as an owner, that your people understand, but what are we doing? What are we doing if we're not generating dollars, profit? Profit rule number 2, that's one of my favorites, end denial. You know what that means? You're responsible. You're responsible. Stop making excuses. Everybody's got competition. Who cares? You all said your business is like this. Who cares? Who cares? What's the difference? Doesn't matter. So when a business goes like this, you want to come to work, and when it goes like that, you don't want to come to work? Who cares? End denial. You own what goes on in your 4 walls. Profit number 3, forget sweat equity. You are entitled to get paid. So when you're having tough times, you are entitled to get paid. You're working. You're carrying more burden than anybody else in the company. You probably put in more hours than you ever thought you would do 25 years ago when you got started. You're entitled to get paid. The minute you start not paying yourself, that spiral will not undo itself. It's a hobby. Now it's a hobby. Don't do that. Love your business more than your family. Little harsh. Right? Here's the meaning. Here's the meaning. The meaning is, I have 4 kids. The owner of my company has no kids. Doug has 3 kids. And I have a granddaughter. Doug's got 7 grandchildren, whatever it is. No one's going to tell us not to love our family. It's just not going to happen. But if you don't put that business in a category that is so special, that gets your nurturing, your attention, your discipline, your love, your admiration, your focus, your unyielding commitment to this, 7 days a week if necessary from time to time, you know who's going to take the hit for that? Your family. Your family will take the hit for that if you don't do that. And all of you know individually whether you should be working harder. All of you know that. The best family business has 1 member. We think it's really difficult to have multiple siblings as owners and fathers and 3 sons, and the sons think they're in charge, and we think it's really difficult. So you got to have clear boundaries if you're doing that. If you got multiple family members in a business, you have to have clear boundaries as who's got what responsibility and who's got the ultimate yay or nay. Delegate, don't abdicate. You're owners. It is your right to say to your controller, I want this, and to your sales manager this, and to your ops manager that, to your purchasing agent that. But don't think for a minute that you should forget it once you give it to them. Don't think that for a minute. They need to know you're going to check back up on them. Delegate, don't abdicate. It's your responsibility. Something goes wrong, you need another $100,000 from the bank. Purchasing agent isn't going to go get it for you. You have to own it. Live and die by a real plan. We went over that. You want a business plan. You want a cash management plan. You want a profit plan. You want a succession plan. You want an incentive plan. Create your plan and live and die by it. Change it if you need to. It's okay. It's a living, breathing document. It's a living, breathing work, just like your business is living and breathing. It's people, it's processes, it's customers, it's vendors. It's living, it's alive, so it can change. But create it and work it before you change anything, and don't not have a plan and think everything's going to turn out okay. Pay for performance, we went over that. I am your work god. Kind of harsh statement. What it means is really simple. It's okay to delegate responsibility in your organization, but ultimately, where does the buck stop? You own it. So if there's a tiebreaker or something is needed, there's nothing to discuss. I'm at risk, it's going to be the way I say. Now, I'm not suggesting we should be harsh or we should be unbearable, but you give folks enough rope and let's see what they do with it. But ultimately, the only one responsible is you guys, you folks. You're not in business to pay your vendors. Yes, you are. You absolutely are. That chapter, you like that one, don't you? Yeah. That chapter was put in there because about 40 to 50% of the businesses we deal with are insolvent or technically bankrupt. All right? Someone know the definition of insolvent? Okay. Definition of insolvent is your current liabilities, your accounts payable, your accrued expenses, your payroll expense, your line of credit are more than your current assets, your cash, your receivables, your inventory. If your current liabilities total up to $1.2 million and your current assets total up to $1.1 million, you are technically insolvent. Means you can't really pay your bills on time, you're struggling. Okay? So I'm going to say 40 to 50% of the businesses we deal with are insolvent or bankrupt or heading towards bankrupt. So this chapter was written because if we need to use vendors to help us subsidize and fund our business for a short period of time to get us over a hump, we'll do that. We'll do that. But they deserve to get paid. They provided a service or a product, and they deserve to get paid. I'd rather you fight with your vendors for a cash discount than to fight with them because you don't want to pay them. Right? But every circumstance is different based on the circumstance of the business. When filing for bankruptcy, do it really right away. Don't treat sales like your mother-in-law. A dozen hands went up here that you started your own business. When you started your own business, you went out and you knocked on doors, or you had a book of business that you stole from someone else or you brought from somewhere else, and then you had to build business on top of that. And you went and did that. You went and did that. And when's the last time you really spent 2, 3, 4 days out there talking to your customers and drilling them on how to get new business and do better with them? They will stop what they're doing and meet with the owner. What's that? Okay. Okay. So my point is, guys, don't be afraid to go make sales calls and let your customers know that you love them and you need them and you respect them. I'll tell you, they will be more loyal to you and they will be more apt not to jump ship if there's a problem, if they have a relationship with you personally. Give up golf retreats, offsites, and trade shows. I think when business is having a great success and life is great and cash flow is not an issue and our backlog is so steep we don't have to think about things, knock yourself out. Play 36, don't play 18. Who cares? Play it. But when business is a fight, it's a fight. It's a dog fight. You all told me this is the yo-yo, the pendulum that you're on. If business is a dog fight and you have the opportunity to attack your business, to find a way to drive sales and make more money, or hit some ball into the woods and you got to go find it, you make your own choices, but you'll get the results based on your choices. That's our opinion. Again, you don't have to agree with it. It's how we believe things should be run. Teamwork is vastly overrated. It's overrated if you delegate and you don't abdicate. It's not overrated if you manage it properly. So be careful how you do teamwork. Don't have meetings for the sake of meetings. They need to have timelines, accountability, what you expect from people, and that's your job as the leader of the company to determine what those are. It's not the economy, stupid, it's you. Don't blame anybody else. When things go wrong, it's your fault. It's your fault. That mirror is harsh, but it's your fault. Okay? So these are the 15 chapters in George's book. There are a bunch of stories in there about actual clients that we've dealt with. The book is written very harshly, guys, so it could offend you. But if you read it, if you take the time to read it and you get one thing out of it that makes a difference in your life, it's a good day. I'm happy with that. It's a good day. We have one last little rule that we like to share with people. It's called the 3-foot rule. Anybody know what that is? Anytime you're within 3 feet of anybody, on an elevator, not in a men's room, but on an elevator, at a ballpark, anywhere, you're within 3 feet of anybody, you walk up to them, you take your business card out of your hand and say, "Hi, Lou Mosca, American Management," and get their card. Because you're the best ambassador for your business that will ever exist. And if you don't want to put your name out there, then why would anyone else want to do it? And you never know where that next order is coming from. You just don't know. So why would you not be the aggressor? Polite, friendly, direct, and to the point. That's it, guys.